I'ma need a higher ceiling. Well, 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 I'ma need a higher ceiling.
Everybody.
All right, welcome to Miller and Dricksy's pod, baby. This is numero 8, the Ocho. Miller and Dricksy's the Ocho. We were, I was out of town last week, so we didn't do it last week. Today, we are going straight audio. No video today. Not our fault. IT guy apparently let the PC burn up, so we couldn't start it today, but it's good because we probably look better off camera than we do on camera. Our guest today, we have Mr. John Conley. Welcome to the pod, baby.
Yes.
Great to have you here.
It's great to be here. This is going to be fun.
This guy, if you read the post that we put on, I can't say it verbatim, but he's very passionate in golf, has played many, many great courses, has a passion in golf course layouts, all that good stuff, and he'll talk about that as we get going here. I do want to talk about, I was gone, so past 10 days, I've been on the road. First thing that we talked about, we went to Vegas, okay? Which is fine, I didn't play golf there, and it was my sister's 21st birthday, but I literally flew back to Minnesota for about a day, and then flew back down to San Diego. And didn't feel the greatest on Thursday, back-wise. It was painful, not stiff, so I didn't play too well. And then all of a sudden, Friday comes around. We play Torrey Pines North on Thursday. Let me tell you a story about this. We get on the plane, and the pilot goes, "I don't care where your bags go. We got to get in the air now." He's like, "Sit down. We need to get out of here," because that's when the storms came in. We left at like 6 p.m. or whatever. So we leave. We get there. Then we come to find out the other 4 of us, so there's 8 of us total, the other 4 of us don't leave till later that night, and they get canceled. So they completely missed Torrey North. There was only 4 of us playing that day. They get in late afternoon after their whole day has just been shot, okay? So the next day, Friday, we played at Madeiras down there. Have you heard that?
I've played Madeiras. You were in Poway, California.
Oh, yeah. Loved Madeiras.
It's a great golf course.
And actually, everything kind of loosened up, and I think that was my downfall because I thought I could let her rip a little bit more. And I hit some bombs, boy. Some absolute monsters. But Saturday paid for it. Couldn't barely move. If I wasn't playing south that day on Saturday, I probably would have not even played. It was so bad.
Just couldn't move.
Couldn't move. I literally was just like bunting it. And every time I try to bunt it, then you get like this little hooky thing. It was god awful. I was in so much pain. I couldn't do anything about it. And it's very depressing for me because it looks like I need to be done for a while to the near future.
Oh, I guess you're wearing a pink skirt for the rest of the summer.
And that's where it comes down to our match that we talked about in episode 7.
You don't want to play us anyway.
I do want to play you, and I will do everything to expedite this process. I think I got to be done for the spring, but that doesn't mean I have to be done for the summer. So hopefully we can get back at it, but it was a good thing Friday to know that I still had it when the back doesn't hurt and isn't completely stiff. But it saddens me because golf is a passion of mine, and even in my brain's going, like today's Wednesday. My brain's going, oh, just go play 9. Just go and get in the skins game for 9 holes. That's how my brain works. It's like you're like completely incapacitated, but just go out there and swing a club some more. Can you hurt it any worse?
Yep.
But that's how obsessed I am and how obsessive this game can be. And John, you know all about that, I'm guessing. As you hand me this PGA Championship, what is this little prize pool?
Yeah, for the last couple of years. So I don't know, starting in 2020, I started running a majors pool, and it's 100% payout, which makes it, I think, legal in every state. So you pick some guys and see how they do and total up their prize money. And what's different about some of those where it's pick one from column A, B, C, D is really the world's your oyster. You can pick anything from the menu that you want. You have 30 points to spend, and number one in the world right now, Scotty Scheffler, is 10.
Damn.
And if you don't take him, you can take a bunch of guys in his place. And it's been a lot of fun. So I think I had just shy of 80 entries for the Masters, and usually it tails off. Masters is the one everybody's most excited for.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm in
Oh,
for
yeah,
sure.
for
What are
sure.
we,
It's crazy.
Venmo?
Yeah, it's all Venmo. Venmo
Sweet.
in, Venmo out. And I've got very detailed rules, which I didn't give you, but it's grown to the point that I'm handling a lot of money that's not mine temporarily for about a week.
Yeah.
And there needs to be some really, nice guardrails around it. So 100% transparency. You can see everybody's entry posted online, and you can see mine. And, it's a good pool. So, yeah, that's what I handed you. PGA Championship, Southern Hills, Tulsa, Oklahoma. It starts. And the first group's an interesting one. The first one out's Y.E. Yang, John Daly, and Sean McKeel.
I wonder if there's gonna be some heaters in that group.
Probably a couple of heaters in that group. Other than, I don't know. Why does YE smoke?
I don't know.
I don't know either. But Tiger Woods is at a great value of 1 point on this list.
That's amazing. I'm picking him.
Yeah, so this is
That's
something,
fantastic.
actually, I was getting some text messages while we were starting here from a gentleman down in Texas, and I drew the format from him. I used to work with him, and he ran the pool, and he no longer does it. So when I stepped up and included him on the distribution list after not seeing him in 15 years, he and his wife, they're all in. So what you do is you look at the world rank, and then there's a certain number of points that guys have earned.
Got it.
And that's what drives the formula. And Tiger hasn't played enough the last 2 years to have much street cred in the official world golf rank. And as a result, he's a strong value pick. And, I'm not the huge Tiger fan that some people are, but with 30 points to spend, I did put him on my sheet for this week. I think it's something where I wouldn't want to miss out if he had a good week, because it doesn't really eat into your money. Scotty Scheffler, on the other hand, do you put 1/3 of your stack on a guy that's really riding the hot hand? But aside from the last 2 months, has had very little success in major championships. So that's why it's fun. And you guys are more than welcome to get in. And if anybody else wants in over time, I do it for all the majors. So we got June U.S. Open, July British.
Let's go.
There's a lot of great value on here. Max Hama's at 3. You have Ryan Palmer at 2, which he's coming off of a pretty hot tournament last week.
Let me give you a guy here, Keith, coming off a win. If I updated the table, he'd be 2 points, but his win came this past week, so he's only 1 point. Sam Horsfield, 3-time winner in the Euro Tour. Grew up in Orlando, but his parents were British, and he always plays out of Europe, so he's a Euro Tour guy. But Sam Horsfield at 1 point, huge value, great guy to look at, and my eyes are on Horsfield this week.
Gosh, even like Tommy Fleetwood is 2.
Really?
And you could just pick as many as you want up to 30
Up to 30
points.
points. Yeah. Sounds right?
Exactly. Yeah,
Wow.
and there's guys that aren't listed here. There's 20 club pros, and I don't put what are the irrelevant past champions on there, and it's kind of weird. Do you know who finished 4th last year? Phil Mickelson won. Who finished 4th? Got him into the Masters.
Xander?
Patty Harrington finished 4th at
really?
Kiowa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a long time since he'd been relevant on the big stage of a major, but had a 4th place finish, so he wasn't the only player off the senior tour that had a good week in Kiowa.
Speaking of senior tour, did you see the qualifying at the senior open?
Yep.
Qualifying with JB
Which one? The one in Minnesota?
Johnson. Yeah,
I went up there.
you did.
I watched
Did
a
you watch the
couple holes.
playoff?
Remember I told you I played Onika Ridge? No,
yeah.
I didn't catch a playoff. I was gone by then.
Dang, I played with him a whole bunch. He's a great dude. The guy who got second,
Who's that?
JB Johnson.
Oh, really? Wow.
So 4 players in a field of, 60, 80 guys. Broke 76. The course was playing tough. A little bit of wind.
Where'd they play at?
Played at Delwood, and they didn't give him much off the tee, so they're playing all of it.
Yeah.
And I tell you, there's a big difference. The Senior Open qualifiers, so you're 50 and older, there's a big difference. So a lot of the field's 60 years old, let's say.
Yeah.
Club pros, big reputation guys. There's just a lot of difference between how far guys hit it at 60, 55, 60 years old, and let's say 20 to 30 years old.
Yeah.
They just had the U.S. Open qualifiers, and didn't matter that they played in the wind on a long course at Windsong. They had no trouble getting around. But guys were really struggling out there. The little bit I watched, it was a lot of golf course for them. Delwood played tough.
What was the yardage?
I'm not saying they played, 1 foot in the rough back every tee, but they had to be close to 7.
Okay.
But
on that course, I mean, it's a lot of trees and pretty tight, isn't it?
No, it's not tight.
No.
A lot of rough. But,
a lot of rough, yeah.
The thing is, it's the qualifier to get into the U.S. Senior Open, and they did identify the right guys. Most people that had teed it up there would have no business going head-to-head with Gene Sowers and, Steve Stricker. Most guys just shouldn't be out there. And they won't, because they won't be able to get through the qualifier. But scores were high. So, yeah, that friend of yours had one of 374s.
2 over. Yep.
Wow.
And Mario Tiziani, who won the state senior open last year, he was 77. He's a great player, and he's 3 shots higher than that. Give you an idea how hard it plays. 74 is a great score that day.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they go from here, then they go to like a regional, and then, or what happens then?
No, so the senior open, that's in.
Okay.
That's why there's only 2 spots. That is straight in.
That's
Got it.
awesome for him.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Where
are they playing the senior open this year? You guys know?
I don't know.
It was Omaha last year. I'll think of it.
He plays golf every day.
Well, I think you have to.
I think he
just to
comes
stay loose
from some cash-ish. I think the story is, so he plays golf every day.
Every day.
Yep. And he's a very good amateur. Like he's won some, MPGA events.
Let me skip ahead. We're going to talk about golf courses in the region today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the Senior Open next year? See if you guys even know this.
I have no idea.
Is it in Minnesota?
Close.
Oh, no idea.
Century World.
Where's that?
Stevens Point, Wisconsin. So just
Okay.
a short car ride away.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember. Last year was Omaha. Next year it's local-ish. And we'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
So where is that in Wisconsin? Just over the
No, Stevens Point, let's see. Do you know where Wisconsin Rapids, Isgler, or Sand Valley is?
Oh, yeah.
It's close to that.
Okay.
So they've got the home of the Century Insurance.
Yep.
And they built a golf course designed by Robert Trent Jones Jr., who did in town here, Edinburgh.
Okay.
So similar vintage, but they have one of the most photographed holes in the world.
Really?
The flower hole.
Oh.
It just shows, I guess, things have changed. It may not, number 12 at Augusta and the flower hole were always the most. From the tee to the green, they plant flowers. So you have to hit over flowers. So that was kind of what the course was known for. So they still plant the flowers, but obviously it's not as recognizable. That was ubiquitous in every golf magazine 20, 30, 40, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Also, it's still a pretty old course, not pretty new course. But they built it for
It's a
tournaments.
championship golf course.
Wow.
They've held big events there,
Okay.
but the U.S. Senior, probably by far the biggest, and brings into a lot of questions. The infrastructure, where the players stay, and that puts a lot of stress on an area because Stevens Point is not a big populated area. So I think that'll be a big storyline next year, is how it's going, really supporting a daily fee course in a smaller town in the country. And that's kind of one of the things that we'll talk about today, is really like the big tent. Like, there's room for a lot of different types of golf courses because people have different tastes. And you played a daily fee course this past week that hosted the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool, right? It's a municipal golf course owned by the city.
That's what I know. And I don't want this to sound rude or anything, but when you play North, you're like, at the end of the day, it's a muni, and you could use that as a 4-letter word if you want.
Yeah.
But the North courses, they keep the greens rock hard, so they don't have to fix as much. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. The South course is a lot better condition, I'd say, on the greens. The views are constantly, at every green were really good. But But like I said, the North Course is just like if you went to Como, just with better views. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't want to put it much that far, but yeah, I mean, it's like a zoo out there. I mean, there's not a lot of etiquette on the North Course, you know, as much as there was on the South, and they're on the same property, which is crazy. But it's like two different animals out there.
And North always is used every year on the PGA Tour because the first 2 rounds they put one round on each. So, you know, that's a course that is used by golfers at the absolute highest level.
Which is interesting. I mean, they play so much different, which would just, I think, would be driving me bonkers playing in that tournament if they played like that, because North was fast and firm and the South was fast and, you know, softer. I mean, it received golf balls a lot better. You didn't have to land it 10 yards short just to hold the green. I mean, I threw a pitching wedge straight up in the air and landed it right next to the pin, and it was in the back of the green. And the green wasn't sloping to the back. It was just that rock hard on the North Course. But I wonder if they do that because it gets a lot more traffic maybe, and they just don't want to, you know, I was thinking that it didn't make much of ball marks. You know,
what was the price difference?
Big.
Really?
Like $120 difference.
Wow.
Between the two.
What does it cost to play South now? Just for, you know,
South was
normal
$265.
$265.
Yeah. That's before cart.
Wow.
And then the cart's $45.
I'm not working that one.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that walked it.
Really?
I was surprised, and the guys wanted to walk it too, and I'm like, ixnay on the Aquay. You know, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
but
is there caddies?
There's not. You can give them 48-hour notice. If I think no caddies. And sorry, that was for Medeiros. Is 48-hour notice.
Got it.
Which is interesting. They say you can have a caddy, but they also tell you can't walk it.
Oh, so someone caddying.
Yeah, it had to be just a 4 caddy.
Just ride on the back, don't they?
Yeah, I mean it had to be something like that. Kind of like when, well, I mean, when I played Scottsdale at the stadium course, we had a 4 caddy. You know, it was required, but you could also have a single caddy loop for you, I guess there. But yeah, Medeiros was like, I heard him say at the front, yeah, you can't walk this course, and yet you can get a caddy. So yeah, it had to be a 4 caddy thing. I think when you look at golf in general, you know, we're talking about infrastructure and places we're going to play golf. You know, when you look at golf compared to other sports, you know, there's not a lot of other sports that are going to, you know, you bring it other than, you know, you hold Super Bowls and Pro Bowls and World Series and all that good stuff. To get into a small town, just to bring an event into what you're talking about over in Wisconsin, I mean, you're not having a Super Bowl or a World Series or even like any type of pro event in a small town like that. Maybe for one game when they do, you know, outdoor hockey or something like that. But what is kind of your take on that, John? You know, golf compared to these other sports, not only in infrastructure, but also in just the complete layout of tournaments and such.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks. The first thing for me is that golf is unique. I don't want to say it's the only one, but you look at other sports and the field doesn't change. So people want to do a tour of all the major league ballparks, or they want to see where all the soccer matches are played in the Premier League. But the field itself, you know, outfield might have a little different wall, but, you know, 90-foot base paths and same size goal in soccer. But golf's different because it's the actual field that changes, not the surroundings. Right. So that's unique among the sports that I follow. Surfing, rock climbing, maybe motorsports, you could say, are the same, but there aren't a lot of sports that people follow where the venue changes. So that's the first thing that I think is cool. The second thing, and you're a good example of this, is you can play where the pros play. You played a U.S. Open course. It's actually a pretty famous U.S. Open because of Tiger Woods, Rocco Mediate, bad leg. You know, this is one that goes down in the annals of history, and you're playing the same place. And, you know, the three of us are not going to hit balls at center court in Wimbledon. We're just not. You know, it ain't happening. And, you know, we're not going to be able to go shoot free throws and play a pickup game where the Timberwolves.
Madison Square Garden.
It ain't happening, right? So golf's totally different in that regard. And, you know, I think the other thing that makes it different is the venue is actually memorable. If you talk about a great game, and we've had some people were talking about the overtime games the other night in hockey. It was just a great night for NHL hockey. But it was the game that was memorable, not the venue. Right. And golf's different because of the venue. And you know, people travel to birdwatch. People travel to go on garden tours in different parts. And the venues are memorable. And golf's the same. You have a memorable chip in on 17, 1982 U.S. Open, Tom Watson out of the rough, because he's a couple feet from the ocean and he's buried in grass. And it's actually the venue that's memorable. And that doesn't happen in other sports. It just doesn't, So for me, that's why when people will say, wow, you really like golf courses. Yeah, it's totally different than any other sport. And that's just kind of what starts the discussion for me, is the venues really make the game more interesting than it would be. Think about tennis. If we played, the same layout, there's a standard golf layout, how many people would love it as much as they do? I think the number drops.
Oh, significantly.
Right. Speaking of memorable moments on golf courses, particularly Torrey Pines South, we're on, I think it's maybe 16, par 4. There's a cliff to the left, and a buddy of mine on the trip, and we won't mention any names to keep him anonymous because this is hilarious, and it'll be funny in about a week to him. But hits a ball, goes straight left into the OB. He gets frustrated because he's had a frustrating day. The course is eating him up at that point, and he goes to throw his driver down the fairway. It sticks to his left hand, and bye-bye, off the cliff. Just gone. So you could see the other people like in the group, because we had 2 groups back to back. I didn't even go look because I knew it was Gonzo. This other guy walks up. You can see he sent a text because he has this little tracker on his phone that tells him like the steps he takes. And he posts a picture on the thing, and I might put it on the page or even like in this on the headline on the audio. You can see where he walks, looks down, says, nope, we're not getting that. Walks back. You couldn't even see it. I mean, just down the cliff, gone. And it'll always be there. It'll always be at Torrey Pines South. I don't think anybody's ever going to find it.
That's an expensive toss for me.
Oh, it is an expensive day.
For the people that maybe aren't as familiar with the golf course, the visual I have here is something that's a big barranca, as I recall,
Yeah,
Torrey Pines,
exactly.
right? So the visual maybe for our listening audience is, if you remember where in the most recent season of Cobra Kai, Daniel-san had to go down and get the bonsai tree that was planted on the side of the hill. I mean, that's where the driver is.
Basically, yeah.
The driver's where the bonsai tree is.
You would have to tie off and literally get through cacti and all these other prickly things to even sniff where the driver is, because it was just went dead left. It was awesome, but that's where I think about like that. That will always be a story that I'll have in my mind. When you look at golf courses and stories around that, I'm sure you got some good ones. What are some that like come to mind for you for courses that you played and stories that you have with it?
Yeah, that's another thing about the passion I have for golf courses is every course has a story. There wasn't a golf course there, and then there was, and there's a lot that happened. So one of the most prominent around the Twin Cities is a gentleman couldn't get into a private club at Stillwater, which has always had a very full membership, and he wasn't allowed access. So he said, I'm going to build a course, and next door you have Oakland, 27 holes. So, he showed them, he built a golf course. So that's an example of a, pretty high profile. But, I've got some fun ones for you. There was a executive with 3M for 40 years, and he had a job and membership at one of the nicest private clubs in the Twin Cities. So he had a place to play, but he got dragged into a project and became his passion to put a golf course on top of a ski hill. And it's the one down at Mount Frontenac. And in owning that, he took on a leadership role, became the head of the president or whatever, the head of the National Golf Course Owners Association. And if you go there today, the ski hill's gone. The hill's still there, but the skiing's no longer. Yeah. And the golf course is still there. So, someone that, just thought, oh, let me do this, didn't need to, really distracted him from his day job, but wound up being a passion for him and led a trade organization, for all the owners across the country. So Mount Frontenac's got a fun history. Wild Marsh is a real fun history. The golf course was built called Buffalo Run. Yeah. I didn't live here at the time. People didn't really care for it, I guess, because it was kind of plowed under and redone. They brought in a name architect, Graham Marsh, a lot of success as a professional golfer, won the U.S. Senior Open that we just talked about. Most of his designs are in Australia, but he has a couple Prairie Club and Sutton Bay in the Dakotas area. So they brought him in and redid the golf course. So, just think about that. We built the golf course, but shortly thereafter, we don't like it. Let's replace it. And if you haven't played the Wild Marsh, it's terrific.
Our buddy
It's a
is
great
an
golf
ownership group that bought that. So I just played it not too long ago.
Yeah,
to review it.
I'd never played it, and I played in a tournament up there, and it was great.
Yeah.
Like the layout was fine. Conditions were awful because it was
Right.
soggy mess, but the layout,
Oh yeah.
it's a
Great
layout.
It can bite you. Yeah.
Great layout, and it reminds me, even though it's just an hour outside the Twin Cities in Buffalo, Minnesota, it's a similar topography that you'd find in the North Georgia mountains. It's very similar to a Fazio course or Reynolds Plantation. So, that's one that's got a pretty interesting history because there was something else there and then was replaced. So anyway, that's just a couple examples of some golf courses with, a little bit of a history. And Montgomery is supposedly haunted and shows up on a list of like ghost tracking people as a haunted property.
Oh my God. So I have this good friend of mine. Okay.
Wait, I got to stop you.
Okay, go ahead.
It is haunted. Because
Okay.
remember the second day of the club championship last year?
There was something
So the
spooky
rock.
about that. Yeah.
John, I shot even the first day. I'm in second. 3 shots behind the guy who shot 3 under, which was a good score. And I'm like, all I got to do is shoot even again, and I'll beat him. And he shot a cup 4 over or something.
I think
still,
he shot, I think he
still
shot 6
won.
under, 6 over. Yeah.
And he
the
still
next day, yeah.
won, and I shot like 10 over.
Okay, it keeps going down because it was definitely, we started at 13, then we went to 12, and you concurred that it was 12 over, and now we're back to 10 over. So this story just keeps changing as everything will. But I will tell you something. I have a buddy that is very, very serious about haunting business. I mean, he's got like all the machinery, everything. He's been to all the major sites around the country. He literally goes to, he finds places that they say that there is spooky stuff, and he'll go there and he'll bring his gear and he'll hunt ghosts. Beep, 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 beep. Yeah, exactly.
Goes off.
Exactly. It's
So
like
weird.
that. The show. What's that show? Ghost Hunters.
yeah,
Ghost
Ghost
Hunters.
Hunters.
That's what it is. That's exactly what he does. He's spent a lot of time and effort hunting these ghosts.
It is haunted. We now have proof that it's haunted, but it's also a very good golf course, and it's getting a lot of attention right now in national media because the owner, Greg McCush, is a passion around music and has branded it as a music-themed golf course. There's a little gimmick is there as well, and if you took the gimmick away, he bought a real nice golf course on it's like an ideal golf property, and he's pouring money into it, so it just keeps getting better and better. So, those are examples of, I think, some really fun stories around golf courses that exist. And we could talk about the top 5 courses in Minnesota ad nauseum about how great they are. But what I've found as I've gotten out more is you get past that, and everything has some interest, and you can find some things to like about all the golf courses.
Yeah, you find these little diamonds in the rough. When I think about golf courses and like weird layouts, I always talk about Summit, that horseshoe par 5 that you can't get there in 2. I've said that many, many times. And the new ownership actually wanted to make it so you could get there in 2. I haven't played there. I don't know if they ever changed that, but like I think about little quirky things of those diamonds in the rough where you find these courses that have that one hole that you're just like, either it's super unfair or it's super pleasurable. I mean, that hole, for instance, is one that I think of that's just like, there's no way.
Well, I think Wild Marsh has that par 5 that is pretty goddamn memorable along the water.
Oh yeah.
That it's
7.
Not a 2-shot hole.
It's
a
memorable for
3-shot
me because I
hole.
birdied that hole. That's
Yeah,
the only birdie I had.
But you can't get home in 2 if you play from the back tees. No chance.
I've played with you, and you drive it well. You'd still have kind of go no go as would you even try to carry the second? But I played in a scramble event once, and one of the features for those of us lucky to play is that Keith would hit a drive for us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And Keith could maybe get there in 2.
Yeah.
Keith hits it further than a human. When your back gets better.
Yeah,
That's almost untouchable. Number 7, that big dog leg left. And
Yeah.
got that is the Wild Marsh, maybe, that the whole course is named after.
Oh, so were you at what tournament was that?
The one where you were dressed up as
like Richard
Simmons. You were a
Simmons.
pretty good sport about that. You were a pretty good sport about that.
I knew you looked familiar. I was wondering. Yeah, I got to hit drives all day that day. That's when the back was feeling good. Yeah.
I mean, no lie. I played with Jake recently, and I don't know, what were you, 4 under on the second 9, 3 under on the second 9. No lie, Keith, it's a 5-10 hole, and he says, you get to use my drive if you want, and he drove it, and the ball is within a yard of the 150 stick.
Yeah.
So
smash it. Yeah.
that is how far, and it was straight too. I think if you would have, hit it sideways, you were going to hit another one for us just to make sure we had an option. But
right,
yeah, not many groups were going to pass on that option. So anyway, I wanted to just maybe talk about a couple fun golf courses out there that could be kind of the hidden gem category that are maybe under appreciated or under acknowledged in Minnesota. So
love that. Yeah.
So I want to throw out one. If you get in the car to go to Summit, stay just one more town and go play in Zumbrota. So Zumbrota has 9 holes. They're about 100 years old. It's through Christmas trees. So a hilly, short on the card. It doesn't play short because of the hill. Big Christmas trees lining. So it's challenging. And the townsfolk wanted to go to 18 holes. That's pretty common in Minnesota. We'll have 9. Let's get a second 9. And they brought in an architect at the time. He did a couple great jobs, but unfortunately, I don't think he stayed in the industry because he just couldn't get enough work. Jeff McDowell. And he went across the parking lot, and now it's rolling prairie. So you have kind of a contrast with old, traditional, minimal course. Here's a tee, here's a green, here's some trees. But then a very modern design, and it's hard to challenge the good players today, Jake being an example. So what he did is he created 3 sections to every green. If you're hitting the greens but you're on the wrong third, you're probably not able to 2-putt if they put any pace on the greens, which they run pretty fast out there. So it's par 70, 34 in the front, 36 in the back. And I'll make a wager with anyone on a bet on a certain number, because I think it tips at 6,000. And one of the tees has grown over. It's really 59.90 or something.
Yeah, right.
But it sounds easy, but par 70, that adds 400 yards. But there's some short holes in there, and then the long holes play tough. And 20-year-old back 9 is just an absolute brute of a golf course. Some great holes, some real rugged terrain, and that's one that I'd put in that hidden gem category. I think on a weekday it might be $20 to ride.
Really? Is it PCC?
What is it called?
It's called Zumbrota.
It's just, the city. It's just called Zumbrota.
Yeah, and it's in the town of Zumbrota. And Jake just asked the question, is it on the Public Country Club? Some of your listeners might be Public Country Club members. It is. Okay. And I think all the courses that I would talk about today do. I mean, I just think that there's a lot of accessibility for some of these courses that are, pretty darn good. The other 9 holes that I know that same architect did, it's cut up, so you play old and new on each 9. But Malacca has a great fun golf course called Stones Throw. I know it was underwater last week with some flooding after the rains, but there's another one, and it's some beautiful new modern holes intermixed with some older stuff that's been there. And that's not a 100-year-old golf course. I think it's about 50 or 60. But real common in Minnesota that they go from 9 holes to 18. And I got one for you. So the big tournament venue, the big modern tournament venue in Minnesota is Hazeltine. They've held Ryder Cup, multiple PGAs. And that was built around 1960, a little bit of an offshoot. One of the members at Minnetonka, took the club out of town. And at the time, small town southern Minnesota wanted the architect, preeminent architect at the time, Robert Trent Jones, to take a look at their 9 holes and stretch it to 18. So if you go down to Winona, used to be called the Winona Country Club. Today it's called the Bridges. It's no longer private. It's daily fee. This is pretty good pedigree. It was built going from 9 to 18 by the architect that built Hazeltine, Robert Trent Jones, and very accessible. I don't know if it's $45 green fee or something like that, but for those on the Public Country Club, it's included in that membership 7 days a week. So another one, and back in the day, it had a good reputation as a challenging golf course. Held the Minnesota State 4-ball, and I entered a state AMA qualifier there. So you get out and see some of these courses. They've got a story behind them, and the golf is actually pretty good. And you don't get much better than that. I mean, the number one architect of that era that did Hazeltine also helped out with the small town, giving them an 18-hole course just in his spare time. He ran down there and took a look at it.
So you're a little bit more spoiled with as far as your travel for golf and like what you've seen here in Minnesota, but would you say overall we're really spoiled with golf courses, like nationally?
Yeah, I can cite a few reasons. I'd say for sure, Jake. I think pretty much every major golf course architect has worked in Minnesota. So if you're a purist, Stanley Thompson did North Oaks. Almost all of his courses are in Canada. He's got a great reputation, but he did one here, and we've got multiple Donald Ross courses. 2 miles apart, 2 U.S. Open courses with Interlaken and Minnetonka. You get on the modern side, and Bobby Weed, I think, did Stone Ridge, and you've got a real good golf course out at Rush Creek. They're hosting the Twin Cities Open right now, and you just drive around and say, well, what if I don't have access to the private clubs? Well, we've got some great daily fee. What if I don't live in the Twin Cities? Well, you can go to, Owatonna, and I've got a sleeper I'm going to bring up here in a second. I mean, we've got good golf courses all over. What if I don't want to spend $100? Wow, I'm giving you some choices that you might not even spend $40,
right,
and you'll play a golf course with a lot of interest, a lot of challenge, and some actual architectural merit. So I concur completely.
Yeah,
I played a course. So after I tore my ACL, I played baseball growing up, but I went back to school and ended up going down to Rochester, and we played a tournament. It was in Iowa. I think it was Cedar City, just right over the border. Don't quote me on this, but you might know more. It was like 5,900 yards, but it was very much like you were talking about like Zumbrota, where it was not easy. Like it was not like the first hole gave you this bliss that you were going to be able to spray it all day, and that just was not the case. They had the greens rolling fast and firm, and I wish I could remember what the course was called.
I've heard of some nice small town courses in Iowa. I'm guessing it might be the same one, but you mentioned something about your first impression from the first hole, and I want to give you my first impression from not having played it but driven past a golf course in northern Minnesota. So Park Rapids is the town. When you drive through, there's a lot of trees, and Minnesotans like trees.
Yeah,
I don't. I'm about to write a book. I should be done in about. Yep, there I'm done. Yeah, it's the comprehensive list of all the great dog legs through trees in the world, right? So sharp dog legs through trees. It's a short list. But you drive past and it's like, oh, boy, that course looks heavily treed. So I never had a chance to play. It was up there last year, and Headwaters is the name of the course, and it's one of Minnesota's absolute gems. I mean, I'm talking in my, it's not a stretch to put it in the top 25 courses in the whole state, metro, private, public. It's just a phenomenal layout. And, you're a great player, Jake. So I wrote down some dates here. If you get a partner, you can go play in their 2-man June 10th and 11th. They have a good competition up there. I know Andrew Israelson played in it last year. Another good small town course. Now, it's not in Minnesota, but this is just kind of a podcast about golf for people around here that could easily get in the car. Spooner's a great golf course.
Really?
And, yeah, Spooner's small town.
Is it Big Fish?
No, that's up in Hayward. That's
Got it.
a Pete Dye course, and that's if you make a double. I did that double last year. I played Big Fish and Spooner back-to-back days. But Spooner's a great golf course. So in the growth of the game in our country, at some point, the game was popular and everybody wanted to play, but there were no places, so they had to lay out golf courses. But there was no one that knew how to play golf, so they had to go find a Scotsman. So you look at some of the older courses in town. Donald Ross designed Interlaken, Minnetonka, White Bear. You've got Oak Ridge, the Minneapolis courses designed by another guy. And Anyway, the golf pro. You ever heard of the Varden grip when they teach you how to the Varden grip? His brother, Harry Varden's brother, was a golf pro at White Bear, a Scotsman, and he did U of M, Stillwater. He did the golf course at Spooner and Eau Claire Country Club, which is an amazing golf course. So Spooner had 9 holes, and then at some point they expanded that to 18. And it's probably got the toughest finishing stretch from 16, 17, 18 I can think of. I would put those 3 holes against anything. And they've got an invitational event coming up July 9th and 10th. And if you just want to go play it for fun on your drive up to play Big Fish, it's another one.
Individual or is it partnered?
That one's an individual invitational and a great golf course. And you can get your practice round in on the Public Country Club. It's part of that system.
I think we did that. I think we took a trip. We've done a couple trips. I went with these guys quite a bit for the Twin Cities golf crew, and that's what we did. We went to Spooner, and then we went to Big Fish, and that's how I heard about Big Fish. And it was literally a diamond in the rough. I mean, it was all links, very link style, which I like because I don't mind hitting out of thick rough, and I don't hit a lot of fairways. But so you definitely had a Keith that was hitting drives all day. The day that he saw me, it was straight, straight and long. But
that Hayward region's interesting. At some point, the state governor or legislature, someone created a tourism campaign that was the golf capital of Wisconsin.
Right.
And a lot of courses were built. Some of those have subsequently closed. Fun fact, in the last 15 years, 6% of the courses in the country have closed. There hasn't been much new coming on. So, we were overbuilt. We've seen some courses close. So some stuff closed up there, but what's still there, you've got Hayward has an old course, a lot of fun to play. Big Fish, Pete Dye came in, did a very nice golf course. It's back nine's not the wide open nine. The back nine's a little different.
There's 2 sides to that.
That's a hilly, challenging 9. But you can go to Wisconsin and play a Pete Dye course at Whistling Straits for probably close to $500 a round by the time you factor in everything. I know you might have to stay there, and they have a caddy program and a green fees high, and you got the Whistling Straits, Pete Dye, or you can go play $40 or maybe it's $60 on the weekend to go play Big Fish, and that is a Public Country Club card as well. So, that's just 2 of them, and then if you draw a donut, maybe a 20-minute ring. There's a lot of good stuff up there that people have fun playing. And some people may hear us talk about these challenging golf courses. If they're not a great player, maybe they want to play something that's a little bit more friendly. And there's several that would meet those criterion as well.
Yeah.
So on your list, is there fewer courses that you haven't played than you have played?
It depends what the geography is. I lived in Orlando a long time, and I think there were only 4 or 5 I didn't play.
Yeah.
So that was a comprehensive, but in Minnesota, I'm just scratching the surface. I've played a lot.
Yeah.
I moved away when I was in my 20s and used to play somewhat competitive. We'd enter some weekend events at the small town places and whatnot. But it's a pretty big state, and a lot of courses were built when I didn't live here from, I suppose it was 95 to 2005. And working my way through them, Keith. I'm trying to get through those.
I want to get his opinion about one course for sure.
Okay.
So they added one to PCC. They must have done it this year, I thought, because it's right next to my cabin. But you want to talk about a short course in the trees that's really hard? Crosswoods? Have you played it?
I have not. I've heard very good things. I want to get up there.
It is pure.
Where's that at?
It's like 6,000 yards max.
Deerwood?
It's in it's in Cross Lake.
Oh, really?
Cross Lake.
It's
Okay.
literally 3 miles from my cabin.
Got it.
And being your length, just throw that out the window because you're not going to need it. There's
Just
maybe
3 irons?
maybe one hole. So they've got the course across the street that's like a 9 for if people are only going to play 9 holes, but they added another 9, so they have 18 on the clubhouse side. But that side is like, I think max 6,000 yards ish, but it's just funneled in trees. And you would love it. It's pure. Like the greens are pure, fairways are pure.
Is it kind of like there's a place called Eastwood in Rochester, is that right? Is that what it's called?
There is. I have not played that.
Yeah, that's where we used to practice, and we practiced there for a reason because it was very much like that. It's like put the driver in the bag.
Yeah, there's no driver. Well, Olstead was kind of that way.
Yeah, and I said there really hasn't been much to replace those lost courses. So there is one that just opened up in the Brainerd area, and it's not a full 18, but the gravel pit is getting a lot of attention. It's been written up both locally and nationally. That's the new trend where you just grab a couple clubs and you don't need a full bag, and maybe more of a social golf around a wild carnival style. I'm guessing. I haven't seen it yet, but the one at Sand Valley is kind of carnival style. And then another one that's got my attention. If you know that entrance road into Hazeltine, there was a executive course on the entrance, and I think the history there is they had it for the club and they didn't want it, so the city had run it for a lot of years. Well, that's been closed and is being regrassed. It's coming back as the Loop at Chaska, and it's got some little hook where it's really designed to, I think, attract people to golf that may not be golfers. So not quite like a Top Golf. It's not that much of a social setting, but I have the impression from the stuff I've been reading, and it should be open later this year. If you wanted to grab, 3 irons, a putter, and bring your dog and walk around with your kids, it might be a suitable place for that. I can't tell if there's a green fee or not. There's some foundation that's been working with the city to get this thing built, and they had to get the money raised. But it's been written up in Minnesota Golfer Magazine, read about it in some national press as well. And it's got an accessibility theme, trying to bring the game to non-golfers. And as you know, it's a great game. It's got
expensive.
It's got some barriers, right? It's no fun. It's just not. I mean, like if you can't play golf,
it's frustrating.
You're not going to go play golf with people that can. It's a huge hurdle to get up that curve, and it's costly. Who's going to spend the money to buy the equipment or take the lessons? And it takes a lot of time. And this is addressing all of those. It's just knocking down all those barriers. And we're going to create some great players out of it. Maybe not many, but we'll probably get some more people that enjoy the lifetime benefits of it. It's got a huge recreational component. Read a study this week that even if you're in a golf car, you're getting quite a bit more exercise than if you were not doing something that day. So,
right.
A lot of benefits to just playing. So those are a couple things that are kind of exciting. Up by now, that's my double. Jake, I'm going to go play Crosswoods.
Dude,
I'll
go up there.
Crosswoods when I go play the gravel pit. That's my double when I go up that way.
Yeah.
We got to have a double in Annandale too.
What's Annandale?
Whispering Pines and Annandale Golf Club.
I have not played Southwood.
Okay,
I have not played Whispering Pines, but last weekend I got blown off the map out at Albion. Jeez. Yeah. Turn down the fan. Those courses are pretty good, I've heard. I just haven't had a chance to get out to Annandale yet.
Yeah, Whispering Pines is very much, shot shapers course. It's not for the faint of heart. The golf club out there is kind of the two sides kind of thing, links and then woods. It seems to be a theme quite a bit in these, outer suburbs, towns and things. I've seen that a lot. Have you seen that quite a bit? As far as you have 1-9 that's open and 1-9 that just destroys you?
Yeah, I think it's pretty common as they find land. Maybe it's not all the same, and let's just be honest. Somebody asked me, there was a newer golfer, what links land is, and I explained to him the ocean leaving this sediment over hundreds of years. You recently took the trip to Ireland, and like links in the United States is basically like we give up. Like we had some bad land with no defining characteristics, but we wanted golf, so we put 18 holes out there, or 9 in this case. And, it's links. Sandy. It's links right? So, we do have a course that I played Greystone under drought, played very much like it was windy, and it played like a links course. But a lot of times, links is just kind of code word for like the saplings haven't grown yet or flat. Something. But it's flat, not interesting.
We'll let some bulrush grow or whatever the stuff's called.
That's a fun golf course. So what's on your list? You're going to get recovered here. You're going to mend that back. Do you have some courses on your wish list that you're going to see for the first time? Jake, anything you're going to see for the first time? I get excited not about only the courses that I'm going to go play, but I like hearing people coming back from Torrey Pines or coming back from what was your head cover from Royal Portrush?
Royal Portrush, County Down.
County Down, yeah.
Which County Down is obviously the mecca of golf, I think, in the whole world. I mean, where else would you want to go?
Yeah.
I mean, what's in front of it? St. Andrews? No.
When I played it, it was number 3 in the world, and Murfield was number 1, and Murfield's not scenic. So,
yeah,
I think it's ranked number 6 in the world right anyway. But so what's next? I mean, that was last year. It was a great trip. But what's next for you guys?
I'm doing Whistling Straits that's one of the things that I haven't played there yet.
Do you have your itinerary booked?
Yeah, so there's a guy that does it every year, and I'm always on the list to be asked, and I don't know why, but I'm either always injured or busy. But it sounds like this year, towards the summertime, is when we go. It sounds like hopefully I'm mended and I can go.
Yeah. Well, on the drive over or back, if you haven't seen it, Lasonia Links is just a step back in time. It's like the course was so remote, nobody ever came in and messed it up by planting a bunch of saplings.
Yeah.
So it's this rugged gem, and but anyway, it'd be worth the stop.
So
Whistling Straits will be a bomb, though. That'll just be a blast.
I know, I'm excited for that. And then there's a course, I think it's called Greyhawk in
heard of it.
Arizona.
Yeah.
We're going to play that this coming winter.
Yeah.
That was on our list. So that's pretty much why I've played basically everything around here to death.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'm supposed to go to Sand Valley with my father-in-law. I don't know what dates, end of July, I think. And then his brother is a member at Erin Hills.
Nice.
So, like, come on out. Let's go. I'm like,
hey, Jake.
okay.
Hey, Jake. I'll get like 3 cortisone shots if you can make that happen.
I'll see what I can do. I haven't played it yet. But, yeah, he says anytime you want to come out.
Nice. Well, when you go to Sand Valley, it's kind of an interesting trend. The pendulum, when we had so much new course construction through the 90s and 2000s, was all these courses wanted to be hard. Mm-hmm. And the pendulum swung the other way right now, where a lot of people have recognized you don't have to have a beat you up golf course. Gamble Sands is one in Washington State that gets mentioned all the time. But the other one that this is not going to punish you overly, and you can get around and probably shoot a good score on your trip, is Mammoth Dunes. So Sand Valley and Mammoth Dunes are the two 18-hole courses that are ready now on your trip. But it's a lot of fun to play, and
aren't the fairways pretty big, and
you're
not going to lose a ball, is what I heard.
Yeah, you're going to have a lot of fun out there.
Yeah.
It's just kind of interesting that some of these high-end big-ticket resorts are doing something that was unheard of 25 years ago, and that's giving you a playable golf course where you're actually going to shoot a good score.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's why I chose Giants Ridge for the trip. There's 2 courses, but I think they're fairly playable.
Yeah, the quarry's a little tougher.
A little bit.
I mean, the quarry, you're going to have guys that are losing balls, but...
Yeah, but you played everything as a lateral. It's really not that bad.
Yeah, there's not a lot of stakes out there. Everything's just like lateral or
play
natural.
it as lateral. But
what's the other one up there? Is it Fountain Valley?
No.
What's that one?
You're talking at the casino.
Wilderness?
Yeah, Wilderness, Fortune Bay.
Fortune Bay, yeah. I haven't played that
There's
one.
guys going up early to play that on Thursday.
That's the one I haven't played up north. We had our sections at Giants Ridge, so I played that course 8 times.
Yeah, our trip has gone there a few times. Have you been there?
No, so I, by virtue of some travel intersecting, I've become pretty good friends with Jeff Brower, the architect that did those 3 golf courses, the 2 at Giants Ridge and Wilderness. And I got a note from him about 6 weeks ago inviting me. They have, I think it's the 20th or 25th year. I think it's the Legend might be the first 25th. That might be the first course at Giants Ridge. Yep. So anyway, there's an event commemorating it, and he said, I'm pretty sure I can get you in the group. So I'm assuming in June I'll be playing it with Jeff. So a month from now, and that'll be my first trip. He used to tell me all the time, I didn't live in Minnesota. He's like, go play Quarry. So of all the courses he's done, which is over 60 courses, I think he feels that's kind of his magnum opus, kind of his defining work. I know some people like the Wilderness better as a golf course, et cetera, but Jeff had a chance to work on a pretty radical, dramatic property for Quarry. So that's going to be my first time, and I'm trying to extend my trip to see some of those. He didn't have his flights, but I don't know how long he's coming for. I hope he'll stay around a few days and maybe knock them all out with me. But I'm looking forward to getting up there.
A huge skiing town too, Bowabic, up there. So they hold a lot of the state championships and stuff up in Bowabic there for like slalom and things of that nature. So it's a neat little neighborhood. There's a little pizza shop in town, you gotta stop there. That's kind of one of those things that you just got to do when you're up in
Staple.
Yeah, it's a staple. I can't remember what it's called, some Italian name, but it's the only pizza shop in town. You kind of go down the main strip there, and it's good old Milwaukee, Minnesota. And then these are just gems of golf courses just sitting up on the hills.
Yeah, so. It's funny. You started out the show talking about how Torrey Pines is by definition a municipal golf course.
Yeah.
Giants Ridge is a state project. That was a state tourism project to drive traffic. So that's state, some type of state ownership. So, municipal golf as well. And those are some pretty high-end courses for this state. So we've got a great, the more I think about your question, Minnesota's a great state.
Yeah.
Deacons, Madden. I mean, it's just like
I hope that I have a better experience at Madden's than I did the first time I played it.
It's hard.
It wasn't that for me. I thought the greens were going to be a lot better condition, and they just weren't when I was up there. But hopefully, second time's a charm for me.
And you're talking some stuff that might be north, and I'm thinking south. I still haven't played Dakota Ridge.
Oh my God.
Okay.
And the next time I go to Dakota Ridge, I'm going to go play. I've always wanted to see the golf course at Redwood Falls, which is supposed to be amazing.
Yeah.
And Redwood Falls, just the topography around that. It's just a special area. And another sleeper, if nobody's played it yet,
Jewel.
Farmers Golf and Health in Sanborn, Minnesota. Great Joel Goldstrand designed 9-hole golf course.
There you go.
I played tournaments there.
You've played Farmers?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, because we have some farmer friends that live in Lamberton, which is like literally 10 miles away. So every time there's a scramble, they always call
God,
me.
we're getting real Minnesotan now.
Call the ringer.
Out there in Lamberton.
Well,
that's
where it is.
Yeah. So
there were Red Wing too.
What?
Red Wing has a really scenic golf course.
Red Wing's got a lot of good golf courses.
Yeah.
So Red Wing has Mount Frontenac, I mentioned.
Yep.
Red Wing itself, it's called Red Wing Country Club, was 9 holes, expanded to 18. It tastes very the additional land for expanding from 9 to 18 wasn't as conducive to golf. So there's a couple weird holes, 8, 9, and then on the back there's a couple more. But I'd love to play that core 9 twice. And then Mississippi Highlands, my son, who's a Florida golfer, he was up here, got to a couple tee boxes, start snapping pictures because he hadn't really seen that radical elevation change.
Yeah.
And I think good players tend not to like some of the tricked up holes, but Mississippi Nationals Lowlands golf course is an absolute rock star of a golf course. And I think they've got...
Which you said that when we played, and I'm like, I've never played the Lowlands. I've only played the Highlands, and I'm like, I'm just not that interested in it.
Yeah,
because there's some weird...
There's a 112 yard par 3 that you got to basically hit your putter.
Yeah, the Lowlands.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's not even that. It's like 75 yards.
Yeah.
Well, first off, Red Wing is one of the world's greatest cities for golf. Like, if you look at the population, the course options they have, the price point, it's not a surprise they're turning out some of the top golfers in Minnesota. The state open champion is a college age player from Red Wing. On the women's side, they've had multiple girls playing Division I golf. Like, it's not an accident. That is an amazing place. Yep. But I tell you, Jake, I'll go down there with you. If you play Lowlands, it fits very competitively with Minneapolis, St. Paul's second rung private clubs. So I'm talking it would go head to head with the Wayzatas of the world.
Southview?
It's got to be a better golf course than Southview. Another Tom Varden design, by the way. No, it's a real good golf course. I'm not going to put it in that lofty status with the top private clubs that have 100 years of history and have hosted U.S. Opens, but the next rung, certainly with your Medinas and Indian Hills.
Like Edina didn't really impress me.
Oh, yeah, it's a better golf course than Edina. It's more interesting. The Mississippi Nationals Lowlands golf course is capable of holding like qualifier. You can't really hold a qualifier at Highlands. It's a little bit goofy.
Yeah.
You'd have a guy out there watching balls in these qualifiers. But Lowlands is being used. I can't remember which event has something there this year, but Lowlands is great. I'll go down there with you anytime. So Red Wing's got not just one. They've got like 5 great golf courses.
I think I've only played one out there. But then you have, Lake City and the Jewels just down
I just played Lake City for the first time.
Okay. Yeah, that was our home course. So we when I was in Rochester, that's where we played.
And it was 18 holes.
18, yep.
So there was an old 9, and they kept what's now 9 through 14. They kept 6 old holes.
Yep.
And I guess they gave up the other land for the driving range and then put in the new holes. And I really liked it. I mean, that's just a great. And then Lake City's got Lake City, Lake Pepin, and the Jewel in a town of, I don't even think there's 10,000 people down there.
That's crazy.
It reminds me a lot of like casino course kind of feel. You know, I liked it. That's how the fairways sit and how the greens sit for me is that casino style kind of course. They could put a resort, you know.
Yeah, when you get across the road, those newer holes, it's all the challenge you want. You know, 200-yard par 3. The next one, not that I was riding, but I couldn't have easily fit a golf cart through the fairway. It was so tight. And then the dog leg left, and then 18 was just a monster.
Yeah, 18's a beast.
Tee shot was narrow, so yeah. And so you were down there. Did you go past that to get down and play down in Winona? Because you're getting kind of close.
I didn't. I played in Rochester. I never played the Winona stuff because we were D3, so we didn't play like.
Yeah, Winona State.
Yeah, we didn't play in Winona State or MSU or anything like that. We played like Brainerd, and that's why our regions was always in
Giants Ridge. Yeah.
So, well, what's next on your list? I guess other than going up to Giants Ridge, what courses are you looking forward to playing either this year or coming up, or things that you have in the docket?
Great question. I've never played at Pekegama. And since I moved away and moved back, that run where they built all those new courses, I know people really like the one they built in Coleraine called Eagle Ridge. So there's kind of a double up there if I can get to the Iron Range, and then I know there's something past Hayward that was added to the Public Country Club in the town of Cable that's supposed to be worth seeing. So next time I go up to Hayward Spooner, Hayward Big Fish, and that. Possibly getting over to maybe Voyager Village. So there's a few there. So got a few things that I hope to knock out this year.
Yeah, before we wrap up the pod, I do want to say, since we're talking about golf courses, I will tell you my favorite I think I've played. And is Hayward, California, right outside of San Francisco?
Yeah, that sounds right.
TPC Stonebray.
Yeah.
Loved it. I dream about going back there.
I want to say that was the host of a.
That's where Xander shot his 58
at Corn Ferry, whatever the tour was called.
Yeah, Xander shot his 58 there.
Yeah,
just awesome.
I've heard it's real good.
Loved it. That's Steph Curry, Jerry Rice.
I was gonna say Steph Curry almost made the cut there.
Yeah, he's a member there. Jerry Rice is a member there. Crazy. That was a lot of fun. If we ever take a trip out there, because I have not played Harding Park yet. I've seen it, and I've been in the pro shop, but that's another, Muni, I think.
As well. For sure. Yeah, that's where Colin Morikawa won the PGA, if I'm not mistaken.
I got to pick one course when we went out there for our baby moon, and I picked Stonebray over Harding Park, but I did go there. But I'd like to go back out there and play those two courses, have like a trip out there. I'd love to do that, kind of like how we did down in San Diego. But that would be one for me that I'd like to go back out to. What would you guys think? Places that you would love? Well, obviously you would want to go back to.
Well, yeah, I'd go to Europe first. But if I'm going to stay in the States, I really want to get down to Missouri and play
Branson.
Yeah, and play the resort course.
Yeah,
courses.
I've heard they're all great.
All of it. Just take me there.
Yeah,
I mean, because that's like a family destination. Like you go to that. Doesn't the guy who owns Bass Pro Shops?
Who's behind the golf there?
That's behind.
How hard would it be to get down there? I mean,
it's not.
Is it booked
out?
It's
just a drive, right?
You get all the looky-loos from all the Ozark fans that. No, that's very. They're expensive golf courses for a daily fee, I'm told, but they're for new golf courses, and as much as like some people might have a connotation that Branson golf may not be great. No, they're supposed to be great. So, for me, I'm kind of looking like a couple states away. If I left Minnesota, I want to get up to Marquette and play Gray Walls. I have not talked to people, but when I look at stuff, you can find some nice videos online for Gray Walls, and that's 7 hours maybe to the Upper Peninsula. And if went out west, I'd like to see Bully Pulpit in North Dakota, maybe the links at Red Mike Ranch and Hawk Tree. So 3 in North Dakota as well.
I've never played in the Dakotas before.
Yeah, me neither. And, we talk about leaving the state, but we have so much.
We don't have to.
We don't have to.
We really don't have to, no.
Like, I used to be kind of a snob about golf courses, not because they weren't up to my expectations or I couldn't play them well. That's how I used to rate them. Like,
Right.
It's lined with trees, I spray it all over, so this golf course sucks.
You don't like take it all in, yeah.
Now I can hit the ball where I want, and it changes the whole dynamic. Like, even when we went out to Valleywood, I despised that golf course for years and years and years, and then they made some changes just so the pace of play and the finishing holes are just better. I mean, because they were so hard before, and now you can go out there and it's a challenge. You have to hit every club in your bag. The greens are huge, but they're sloped, so if you do get on the wrong side, you got a big, long, sweeping, putt, and you can get in the wrong side of the hole. I mean, it's so good.
I think Jake just wrote the foreword to my book about how there's no great sharp dog legs through heavily treed forests, right? You showed me where they took the trees out, and the corridors are wide enough for the fairway to breathe and the grass to grow, and you can actually pull your drive a couple years. We played with a third. He had the lefts going. He just kept pulling everything, but he was able to get it in play. Whereas in the old course, I suppose they're all getting knocked down, or they're gone. And it's for recreational golf, we don't need to identify someone that can get through a U.S. Open qualifier at Delwood. We just got to get guys that can keep pace and finish in 4 hours and let everybody enjoy the day.
Speaking of pace, I said we were going to close this down, but you brought up pace of play. Worst pace of play golf course you've ever played. Go.
I mean, it's a long list. Anything with tourists down in Orlando in the winter, it was with golf cars. I just put 5 hours in my calendar and decided to enjoy the day rather than sweat it. So it's really when you just try to pump too many people through a course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most rounds when you're playing in the middle of the day on a weekend, you just plan on 5 hours.
What about you?
The worst pace of play? It's in a small town of Farmington.
Where? Southern Hills?
Yes.
Well, you can't play. It depends on when you play. If I tee off at 6 a.m. and I'm walking with a buddy, we can get done in 3 hours.
Well, yeah,
or
but
less.
you got to be the first ones out.
Correct.
I've never had a longer round there, non-scramble.
That's why I like Valleywood,
In my
because I
life.
can just hop on and I'm done in 3 hours, 3.5, and bye.
I mean, scrambles, you go in, you understand it's going to be a long day. But when you're going out there and you're just playing.
We played in Jeremy's last year, out at White Eagle,
Yeah.
and it was 7.5 hours. That was the longest round I've ever had.
That sounds like college golf. I mean,
It was just terrible.
7.5 hours. Anything locally that you've played? That's just been like,
I'm not going to pin it to the venue and really just say it's more a function of the time. There was some nice days last year going out on a Saturday afternoon, and everybody in town was out, and it just is slow.
I think it's great.
I think it's more venue. I mean, it's more conditions of the day and the weather than it is venue specific.
I think that's the toughest thing you playing in Minnesota is that you get such a short time, and that's why it really and I say Southern Hills, but I can mention a whole slew of them as well. I just played that course more often. That's probably why it pops in my brain more. But when you can only play so many months out of the year in Minnesota, everybody
75 and sunny,
and
no
their
wind.
cousins come
Everybody's
out.
taking
Everybody's
their day off.
there.
I think that's a good point. I mean, Jake and I are people that were into double digits this year with number of rounds, right? Like we went out in April, but I don't fault people for being a fair weather golfer. It's not fun to go out when it's cold and windy and overcast. So when you take the 7-month season that we enjoy and say, what's the real good weather? Maybe if you want to play with your spouse, right? Maybe they're not as into golf, but they'll go with you if it's nice. Or maybe there's, people that they're just creaky in the morning if it's cold. Then you're getting down to maybe 3 months.
Yeah, July, August, September, maybe.
Yeah, Memorial Day to Labor Day, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, Memorial Day to Labor Day is the sweet spot where you can count on good weather every day. So, do I fault the owner of the golf course for deciding I'm going to run, as many people through there as I can on the couple days when I can really make some money? I don't fault them at all.
Yeah.
So
8 minute gap, maybe not even that.
And that's why I choose to not play after a certain time on the weekends.
Yeah.
Unless it's a tournament.
Right.
I mean, I just won't do it. So
Yeah, and that's why I mean more private clubs.
But
are coming up,
as well as you and John, we have the flexibility to just go out in the weekday and pick a course that's not as highly trafficked, and we go walk our round, and it's 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you can spin it pretty quick, but.
But since we're on this topic, we have to put something to bed because I saw it was a topic on Golfing Minnesota yesterday. Which course is better, Troy Burn or Stone Ridge?
I've never played Stone Ridge or Troy Burn.
John?
I've not played Troy Burn. I have played Stone Ridge. I think it's a very good golf course. I'd say it's excellent. So, I think it's nice that you can have these conversations, and the answers are probably both great daily fee options.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think they're
Have
both
you played
really,
both?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're both way up there on my
I've
list.
done houses off of Troy Burn construction. So
You've
I've
never
seen
played
it.
Troy Burn?
Never played it. Never played Stone Ridge either.
Oh, wow. We need to make a day of that.
Just to do both.
Yeah. Or maybe back to back.
That
or
hurts.
something. They're not that bad. They're what, $100?
Yeah, I mean, I
That
think
hurts me
that
just
I think
thinking
they're
about
at that upper range of daily fee in the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to this podcast and you don't want to spend $100 to play golf, I can give you some real good options in the area. Bristol Ridge is a real challenging golf course just north, and Clifton Highlands is a couple miles from Troy Burn. And if you want something in the Twin City Metro that's not $100, more of the $50 range, Keller's
I've heard
just
lots of good things about
I've heard
Keller.
great things about Keller. I drive past it like every day.
So, okay, let's I'll close my contributions to this. Which golf courses in the Twin Cities have hosted a PGA Tour event?
Besides the normal.
Right now, they're at the TPC.
Yep.
They've played at Hazeltine.
Hazeltine.
So you've got some U.S. Opens, Interlaken, Minnetonka.
Did Edinburgh ever?
They had the women, so they'll
they had the
LPGA.
women's, yeah.
Bunker Hills had the senior tour.
Yeah.
We've got Keller had the St. Paul Open. That's what made me think of it. And believe it or not, one year the tour went to Braemar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think that's it. There were some big amateur events back in the day at places like Groves.
When were they at Braemar?
I think in the late 60s, right after it was built. It was built
1 year.
around 64. I think it only came 1 year. And I think they had a pretty full field without the big players of the time, Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, Gary Player. I think everybody else came.
Yeah. I've only played that course once.
What?
Braemar.
I can't remember. I played it more than once, but I just don't remember it.
Yeah, it was closed for a couple years and redone, and went from 27 back to 18 holes, and it's a little different than it used to be, but it's it meets the market. It's got a good location. They've got a lot of city residents that are patrons,
Yeah.
and they run a full tee sheet all day, every day, and the golf course is not difficult for high-level players. They had a section event there for the PGA, and club pros, I think half of them broke 70.
Yeah.
So, it's not going to make a list of anything like if you're in Minnesota, you got to go see Braemar. But the old course back after it was built did host a PGA Tour event 1 year. So,
Wow. Well, speaking of courses you can play, you have an opportunity, a chance to play around at TPC Twin Cities if you enter the challenge. Now, we talked about this match. It's going to be pushed out a little bit, so it gives you a little bit more time to pick. But it's Jake Miller and Garrett Emond versus myself, Keith Hendricks, and Mitchell Scrimger. And hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later. I'm hoping that the doc can figure me out quicker than what I think it's going to take. But if you choose...
where are you playing that match?
Victory Links. We picked it out of a hat. Yep, Victory Links in Blaine. So we picked 4 courses. We picked it out of a hat, and he picked Victory. So I don't have a long jaunt to go.
It was Prestwick, Victory Links,
Chaska Town course.
Chaska Town course, and somewhere. Oh, not Willingers. What was it south?
What was it?
Hastings, maybe?
Dakota Ridge?
No, I don't think
Yeah, it was Dakota Ridge.
Was it?
Yep.
God, I wish
Yep.
it was Dakota Ridge. I love that course.
You picked it. So we're playing at Victory Links, and that's when the match, that's what it is. Whenever we can play is whenever we can play it. But if you go onto our website, we will have a poll up, and all you have to do is comment who you think is going to win. If you're in that lucky pool, we have some entries already. I think we have about 10 entries right now.
Yeah.
Looking for more. But whoever's on the winning side and you pick correctly, you'll also go into a hat for a drawing for yourself, a buddy, and then you get to play with Jake and myself. So at TPC Twin Cities, all expenses paid round out there.
I'll even buy the drinks.
It sounded like a big draw to get to play the TPC of the Twin Cities with the venue for the PGA Tour, and then find out the kicker is it's with you two. So the prize just went.
I know
it just went up like a couple more levels. So
skyrocketed.
you're going to want to win that,
particularly when there's an open tab. Right?
I think the match is going to be videoed, I think we should invite John to be our commentator.
Yeah,
oh my
right.
gosh, this is going to be like
John just in his own car and is commentating.
I'll be like Micah's wife on the good videos.
It'll be Jim Nance.
It'll be a lot of Jake Miller just duffed a chip again. Jake Miller just duffed another chip.
I want in on this match.
And he makes a putt for bogey. Good for him. Anywho, so that's what's coming up on the docket. Thank you so much for joining us on Miller and Dricksy's. We are going to be going live on Spotify here soon, so thank you for your patience in watching us on YouTube as far. We're getting a good enough following that it's time to open up a page on that. That way you can listen to us on your commute to work or wherever your heart desires. For now, that's us signing off. Bye.
Cause I'ma need a higher ceiling. Well, I'ma need a higher ceiling.